coffee is for leaders.
I do have two children that are coming into the work world soon, a 21-year-old and a 17-year-old, and I do worry for them. You know, my daughter was a computer science which was the safest thing you could have. And she's asking me now, am I going to have a job when I get out? And it's harder for me to say with confidence, absolutely, yes, there are going to be a ton. Mm-hmm. So I think there's uncertainty on the horizon.
Scott, thank you so much for coming on the show. You're the co-founder and CEO of Fullstory. Let's start right there. How did you become the co-founder and CEO of Fullstory, and what is Fullstory?
Well, maybe let's start with what is Fullstory. Yeah. So Fullstory is a behavioral intelligence platform. Now, what is that? You know, when we started Fullstory, we aimed to be the deepest structured record for every digital visit. That is, we take a pretty novel approach at capturing every single bit of data that we can, and then we structure that data in a way that teams that care about digital experience can understand exactly what is going on with their customers in order to improve that experience. And, you know, we do that for 3,000 plus customers around the globe, ranging from, you know, financial institution, travel and hospitality, lots of retailers, software as a service companies. Basically, if you're a company that cares about digital experience, we can help you do that.
That's incredible. So you co-founded this thing, when was it, 2014?
Yeah, 2014. Yes, it was a circuitous route to get there. But actually, the founding story in a weird way goes back to 2004, where the three eventual founders of Fullstory were working down on a startup at Georgia Tech. And in a good twist of luck, we hit Google's radar, and Google came in and acquired that merry band of three. My two partners, very smart computer scientists, went on to in essence, build out Google's engineering office in Atlanta. I went and did some stuff at another SaaS company for a while. We wanted to get the band back together in about 2012. And so we all quit our day jobs, brought some of those Google colleagues over with us. And, longish story short, we saw an opportunity in the market where companies at that time, call it 2012, 2013, were spending a ton of money on marketing technology and sales technology to get visitors or customers to a site, and then they lost complete visibility into what was going on in the site. And as we looked at the problem, what was happening wasn't that companies didn't care about digital experience. They were using a flawed paradigm to try to understand digital experience. And the paradigm was essentially, I know you guys have Josh James out there, but it was the paradigm that really Josh helped establish, in that analytics of the time was predicated on some product manager having a thesis of what was important in that customer's journey. I think that add to cart is an important moment as a product manager. And so I'm going to instrument that event. I'm going to get an engineer to write a little code. It's going to put a tick mark in a database. I get a chart on how many people hit add to cart. What's next important in the journey? Oh, it's checkout, that button, same process. And what you ended up with was really biased information, basically what the product manager thought was important. And it was incomplete. Oh, but at least it was also expensive because you had to go get an engineer to wire that stuff together. Smart group of Google people, which I don't count as myself, looked at that problem and said, what if we could just collect all of the data? Like really, when it comes to a visit, capture every click and mouse move and keystroke in a private, friendly way, image. And if we could make sense of all that data, that would be something new and novel and valuable. And that's what we did in 2014. And so we launched that to the mid-market, really trying to go to market similar with like what Qualtrics was doing. You know, you get a lot of customers and then you move towards the enterprise over time. And that's the journey we've been on. And it's been a good one.
How has the product evolved since the founding?
Well, so the essence of the product was always about this concept of data capture. We call that full capture. The first feature, if you will, that fell out of that was high fidelity session replay. And so for every visit, in a private, friendly way, you can hit play and see what your users were doing as they navigated across the product. And it turns out the world was just so pleased to have someone finally turn the lights on. And so the inception of Fullstory was a big play button, basically, that would let you as a product manager, or UX professional, or a support person see where your customers were getting confused and then chime in to help them in that journey. Of course, over time, what we wanted to do is take that full capture stack of data and make that more available to customers. And so we started adding engineering features to help engineers debug problems, connective tissue into other products like support ticketing systems or Jira or Slack, so you could get the data to move around. Product analytics fell out of that. So if you wanted to have a comprehensive set of data in order to do charts and graphs and funnels and all that good stuff, Fullstory was a great place for that. And then, of course, as we step into this new world, most recently, we are spending a lot of time thinking about AI and how that can unlock value for our existing customers and improve experience for their visitors.
Yeah, give me a sense for how you're thinking about AI, how you're integrating it both internally and in the product, and where do you think it's going?
Well, yeah, there's a lot to unpack there. So let's start with, as a business, we have what we call strategic imperatives. You're kind of OKR-esques. And one of ours is AI, both internally as a business. How are we going to operate by embracing AI? And then AI for our customers. How are we going to take AI to benefit them in their goal of giving a perfect digital experience to their visitors? And so let's start with the latter piece of that. I talked about session replay earlier. And the idea that a human can go in and hit play and watch what a visitor is doing and make some notes on that. They can probably accomplish one session replay every few minutes. AI can watch all the sessions all the time, summarize those, find anomalies, summarize the summaries of the anomaly. And so it's really just changing the scalability with which teams can understand what their visitors are doing. And so we're putting a ton of time into just taking that full capture data and AI-ifying it to just pluck the insights out for our customers and then make that data, activate that data wherever it can be better, change the experience on the page, pass it into a support ticketing system so it can respond faster. It's a wide world right now. And of course, we're a software as a service tool. When you log into Fullstory, I talked about product analytics. Product analytics is, it's a tool for people that have an analytic mind. They come in and they think about X and Y and cohorts and all of those things. AI makes that much easier. And so how do we take that user experience that our customers have and AI-ify that in a way where they can just ask questions and they can get answers and they don't have to do all the work of analytics, which has been a pretty heavy lift in the past. Internally at Fullstory, every single organization is thinking about AI and we measure it. And we have something at Fullstory we call a culture of demos where teams like to demonstrate how they're using AI to increase their throughput. Basically, we think it's like an Iron Man super suit for everybody that works at Fullstory to do things faster. So we saw a demo recently of our accounting team and how they're using AI, building their own tools to close the books faster because they can go check accounting rules and do all sorts of fun accounting things. That's happening in HR, that's happening in accounting, it's happening in FP&A, sales. It's something where everybody is expected to embrace it.
And you don't get the sense that it's fluff, right? Like, I mean, we're starting to get to the point of AI where people are like, oh, maybe it's plateaued. Maybe it's not helping as much as, these major AI companies are saying. But real world experience, it's helping you guys.
It's definitely been very, very helpful. So you asked me, where are we going from here? I tend to believe that things are going to continue to progress. I don't see, I'm not a super technologist, but I think trend lines would point to if it can be done, it will be done. It's just a matter of what timeline that's going to be true. And so I think the tools are going to continue to get better and smarter and connect with each other to get better and smarter. And we want to be at the forefront of that as it pertains to digital experience, both for employees as they're trying to understand where they could be more efficient, and visitors as they're trying to have better experiences in their day-to-day.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. How do you think about building the culture of your company, and how has that evolved since the founding as you've gone bigger and gotten more employees?
It has certainly been an evolution. So in the earliest days of Fullstory, we had these things we called watchwords. They were 3 simple things that everybody could rally around. And it was empathy. Empathy is super important as we interact with each other within teams. Empathy is important for our customers when we're interacting with them, and for our customers when they're engaging with their customers and visitors. How are they empathizing? We talked a lot about clarity, like communicating clarity is really important. And we had this idea of bionics, which actually plays pretty well in the AI world today. I talked about the Iron Man supersuit. That really is the essence of what bionics is about, is keep that human touch and then scale it out. So those 3 watchwords have served us very well for, a long stint at the company, but we found ourselves in a moment kind of post-COVID where everybody went remote. It was harder to just have those 3 watchwords. And so we've evolved into talking about winning. We talk about winning a lot because they're winners and losers, and we play to win. If you work at Fullstory, you're going to work hard and you care about winning. And so these winning ways are a set of values that really just articulate the culture that we have always had and wanted to be true. But one of the most important things, best pieces of advice I ever received was from a colleague that I worked with for a long time, and she loved to say, "Repetition doesn't spoil the prayer." And so, culture is both the way that you show up and act. And you repeat those traditions and patterns and rituals, and they're what you say. And so we say these things a lot so people can know this is really what we care about.
Yeah. And maintaining that as you grow, has that been difficult? Has that been, how have you thought about work from home, hybrid, and everybody in person, that whole debate that's happening?
It's still happening here. So
yeah.
we were maybe the perfect bad vintage of company, and that we were born 2014. We're an Atlanta-based company. We had 400 people running around the office of Atlanta. It was vibrant. It was great. We were in an old grocery store. It was a Kroger that we took over. It was cool. COVID. We started to just say you could work wherever you want to, and people scattered. And so now we have probably 100 people in Atlanta. And I'm in the office here today, and there are not that many people because it didn't seem empathetic to say, people in Atlanta, you've got to be here. But if you're living in Montana, you don't have to go to an office. And so we're struggling with it. If I'm honest, I miss having everybody together. It is an advantage for us in hiring right now because there are a lot of companies that are saying back to work, we need to do it. And there are other, and we can hire really, really good talent that says, I really want to work remote. I do wonder over time how that's going to play out in terms of culture, connection. Last week week before last, we had what we call our mid-year meetup. Everybody gets on a plane. Everybody comes to Atlanta. We're in a hotel for 2-3 days, just bonding. And it was so energizing. Everybody they felt it. And to have everybody then go dissipate, I've got this hangover of thinking, man, if we could just get everybody back together again. But we've got 400 people, 450 people, and only 100 in Atlanta. So it's not going to be, that wouldn't be an easy thing to do. So I don't have the solve for it yet. If you figure that out, send me an email.
I don't think anybody has the solve for it, to be honest with you. I think it's ever since COVID, people are still trying to figure it out. It is interesting how many companies are now demanding employees come back to the office at least 3 to 4 days a week. I have found that interesting. And obviously the government has done that recently, all federal employees have to come back. But who knows? I have no idea. I don't think anybody knows.
I just think there's going to be this weird vintage of companies like us that we're kind of stuck in the middle of it. If I were starting a company tomorrow, everybody be together.
Tell me about Atlanta. Like, why is Atlanta where you decided to build this? What is the tech community like? Atlanta, obviously, great, great, great American city. You've got the Atlanta Braves.
Coca-Cola. We got all kinds of great stuff here in Atlanta.
Yeah, you've got the Falcons, the Hawks. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure you have an NHL team, but I don't know what it is.
I don't think we do.
Oh, you don't have it? Okay.
We did. We've had two, and we've lost them twice now. So maybe not a hockey town.
But you've got it's a great sports town. It's a great city. How is it for tech?
It's great it's great. So why are we here? Well, I was kind of born here, and so it's home. But I went to Georgia Tech, which is one of the top 5 public institutions in America today. Many of the people, I think all of the founders at Fullstory, went to Georgia Tech, and we have a pretty vibrant tech community that goes way back. I mean, there have been different iterations of tech in Atlanta, but Georgia Tech has always been something that created great engineers, some of which decided to stay around town and build really good companies. And you can look back at the cable industry, and there's some just really important companies. Some of the first modem companies were based in Atlanta. There was a huge security. There still is a huge security hub. Like, we've specialized really well in security tech. And then a lot of brands that you might think are Silicon Valley brands are actually Atlanta brands. MailChimp is a great example of a tech company that's an Atlanta-based tech company. And what's really nice about Atlanta, I think, is that we help each other out. When we were starting Fullstory, the very kind folks at MailChimp said, "Hey, here's an office. If you guys want to just work in this office for free, that'd be great." They gave us some consulting work to help pay the bills as we were trying to, get our sea legs. And we've given back to others. We've got a little bitty company that's subletting some space from us right now. This is a startup trying to kind of figure it out. And I don't know. It's just a good town that way.
Yeah. How cool is that? That's very cool. Give me a sense for what a typical day looks like for you.
It's a lot loaded term, the idea of a typical day. Okay. So let's start with, every company has cycles, and your typical day is a function of the cycle that you are in. Are you at the end of the quarter, the beginning of the quarter? Is a board meeting on the horizon? So that kind of wonks things up. And then those cycles are also a function of the stage of company that you're in. Typical day when you're a 10-person startup looks way different than typical day for me now. I will say that there's some patterns that I have leaned into that kind of structure some things around my day. I start every morning with reads, and those are me just trying to read things, subscribing to newsletters, reading about AI. What are the things that I need to know? Then I'm fortunate that I've got a team that puts together a pre-reads doc, and those are reads that are necessary for the business of the day. So if I'm going to meet with a customer, what's that customer briefing doc? If we're going to have a weekly business review, here is the material that we're going to review in the weekly business review. And that has been a very, very helpful pattern, because once the reads are over, you correspond and you kind of respond to all the reads that you had back and forth with. And then you just get into meetings for the most part. And then you kind of reverse order. You send the end of day correspondence and go have dinner with the fam, and then probably log on for just a little bit more.
What do you read outside of, obviously industry stuff and newsletters, and like what books, what recommendations did you have for us? Even the newsletters you're subscribed to, that'd be interesting.
Well, let's start with a newsletter. There's one called The Neuron, and it's an AI newsletter. I don't know if you subscribe to that. The Neuron is a daily newsletter. They do a really good job of just kind of doing a roundup of everything that happened in the AI the day before. I really like that one. There are a few financial newsletters that I'm 51, so the names of them will elude me right now. But I think his name is Jamie and Ball has a good one that I really like. Reading, I'm a reader. It's helps me go to bed every night. I stick to sci-fi, and so I think it's helpful as you try to imagine these future worlds where there's AI or not. And good sci-fi has provocative conceits in them that unlock the idea of future worlds. And so I don't know. I'm always reading some kind of goofy sci-fi thing. If you ask me the name, I've switched to Kindles, and Kindle, turns out when you start reading Kindle, you don't remember the name of authors or the names of books, because you just pick up and kind of read midway through it.
It's all just like one continuing experience. Yeah.
That's right. Actually, for what it's worth, this very moment, I'm not reading sci-fi. I'm reading a book. It's pretty interesting. It's 5-6 short stories by famous Russian authors, with someone then explaining why they're good. And it's like a writing workshop in a book. And I won't remember the name of it. Something to do with the rain, maybe.
Yeah, that's cool. The Russians are the best, like Dostoevsky. And,
that's right. Tolstoy. And I had never read it before. It's pretty good.
Yeah, they're incredible. What do companies miss about knowing their customer? I mean, that's what your full stories are about. It's like, here's everything that you're about your customer. What are companies miss? What should they be thinking about?
Well, I live in the digital realm for the most part. It's really, it's easy to empathize with your customer, relatively easy to empathize with your customer. If you're a supermarket and you're the CEO of the supermarket, and you can wander up and down the halls of your supermarket and kind of see how people are engaging and if the lines are long. I think if you own a digital property, that's much, much harder to actually feel what those customers are doing. And our job at Fullstory really is to help you understand not just where people are converting and not, so you can make more money, but the why behind that. We talked about session replay. I promise you could hit play and watch a user that's frustrated, and you would know that they're frustrated. 10 out of 10 people would watch the session and be like, oh, it's brutal. But again, AI can start to do that and affix and label those visits, so you know not just how many people are upset, but how upset they are, and how many people had good experience and how many people were confused. And that helps you relate and empathize with your customers and make better decisions as a result of that. Sometimes, if I'll sit down with an executive, I'll go through a hypothetical exercise with them and say, do you know what 10 customers you upset the most yesterday? You upset them so much that if you saw it, you would personally call them and just say, I'm sorry for letting you have such a horrible experience. I think I went around the globe 4 or 5 times once with my telecom company, trying to just checking in on every call center as they tried to solve my problem and then pass me to the next one and the next one and the next one. And were I the CEO of that telco company, I would want to know how bad that was, because you would just never suffer it. And so knowing you have a problem, you know it at a low brainstem level, seeing it helps you take action on that. Measuring it takes you which ones you should take action on first.
Give me a sense for how you're feeling about the macroeconomic environment, both for the company, but also with your customers, how they're feeling. Obviously, a lot of uncertainty first half of this year with tariffs and everything like that. And there was uncertainty even before that. But how is it? How are you feeling now going into the end, the back end of this year and moving forward? How are things looking for you?
I feel pretty good at the moment right now. I mean, we look at pipeline and all the things that we can predict. And so in Fullstory's little world, with our customers, the products that we're creating and going back and selling them, what we're hearing in terms of where we can be helpful, I think AI is a big unlock. I think that's helping people spend budget to try to take advantage of that and just be better companies with AI. And so we plan to play with that. Look, Clint, I'm not an economist, so I can't tell you about the macro. I do have 2 children that are coming into the work world soon, a 21-year-old and a 17-year-old, and I do worry for them. My daughter was a computer science which was the safest thing you could have. And she's asking me now, am I going to have a job when I get out? And it's harder for me to say with confidence, absolutely, yes, there are going to be a ton. Mm-hmm. So I think there's uncertainty on the horizon.
Yeah, definitely. Finally, we end every interview with the same question. And that is, at CEO.com, we believe the chances one gives is just as important as the chances one takes. Yeah. When you hear that, who gave you a chance to get you to where you are today?
Well, there have been, A ton. The first one that pops into mind is I worked for a CEO. His name is Bill Nussey. He ran a company called Silver Pop. And I was a young and green executive that probably thought I was much greater than I actually was. No, that's just true. I thought I was greater than I actually was, not even thought. And he gave me chance after chance to lead, to manage. He gave me my first management job. And I guess I didn't screw it up enough to promote me and give me a little bit more and a little bit more. But he would let me make mistakes and then coach through the mistakes with me, like, what happened here? How do we get better with that? And I do think it would have been very easy for him to say, hey, this function isn't doing, as well as it is. You're junior. We're going to bring in somebody with more experience over you to do that. I've been guilty of doing that as a leader before. So I'm very thankful of Bill's, the chance he let me have and the patience he had with me to kind of make some mistakes on his time.
Scott, thank you so much for coming on. Congratulations on everything you built. Seriously, Fullstory is so awesome. Love Atlanta. Always love going to a Braves game or two every year. It's an incredible experience.
Come on. You let me know next time you're in town, Clint.
Okay. Thanks, brother.
Loving you makes